Welcome back. And I'm going to continue to look at the child and the needs that weren't met. But just before I do that, we've had a tea break and I'm here with my warm cup of tea, and hopefully you've got something nice as well. And I was just reflecting on how soothing it is to hold a warm cup of tea and drink a warm cup of tea and to take that moment with yourself. And I was just thinking, imagine as children when those things happened that we recalled, that perhaps we wrote about with the non-dominant hand exercise. Imagine if someone had sat us down with a warm cup of tea or cocoa or whatever we liked at that time and said, tell me about it, or I'm here for you, or yeah, that really shouldn't have happened. Um, so just imagine that. And that's where I want us to go now in this part of the workshop, to imagine, to identify what we needed in order to feel better, to feel soothed, and to process our emotions. So you have, you wrote about the little girl and how she felt. And from your writing, you'll be able to identify some needs that she had. Oops, throw my pen around. Hang on. Some needs that your child had. So here's my child. She feels like it's her fault. She feels like there's something wrong with her. She feels scared, unsafe, confused, alone, and angry. So what are her needs? What does she need in that moment? I'd like you just to have a think about what you might have needed in that moment. What did you need to hear? What did you need to feel? Perhaps you needed a drink or something nice to eat, not to eat on your feelings, but just something, perhaps you were hungry, or perhaps you needed soothing or care or support or gentleness. So what did you need to hear in that moment, or to have to feel better? Just think about that and write that down. So you needed calmness, a hug, to be told that it will all be okay and we can work it out. Needed an adult who could contain my feelings, acknowledge them, and soothe me. Brilliant. So these are really brilliant insights into what you needed. Now, what I'd like you to do is just to write yourself, and also physical touch, a cuddle. So that's very soothing. So I'd like you to write a little letter back to yourself. So this is in your dominant hand, your normal handwriting hand. Just to explain, when we do the non-dominant handwriting, and you can do that at any point in your life, you can think, I really need to get in touch with my deep feelings. When we do the non-dominant hand, it kind of bypasses the intellect and goes right to, the deeper part of ourselves. So it's a really good way to connect to our deeper feelings and to the child's feelings. It sort of bypasses the ego and the intellect. So that's the non-dominant hand. So now we want to take our pen back into our adult hand, into our normal hand. And I'd like you to write yourself a little note. So dear, and put your name. And I'd like you to tell yourself what you needed in that moment. I'd like you to say the gentle things, the soothing things, the calming things that you needed to hear in that moment. So write yourself a little note with everything that she needed to hear. And if you'd like to share some of it, please do. An example of what you needed to hear. You needed a cuddle, a rock and to be told that I love you and I want to be with you. I want to listen to your feelings. I can help you understand your feelings. I think you may be feeling a bit sad and a bit cross, and that's okay. I still love you. So it's a message. What I hear in that is a message that it's safe to feel your feelings, that it's acceptable to be feeling how you are feeling, that I am here to help you process your feelings and to support you. And that no matter what you feel, that you are still loved. And they are really important messages. Your feelings are welcome here. Your feelings are, there's nothing wrong with you. It's safe to feel that way. And another letter. I'm so sorry to hear that X has been nasty out of the blue. Come here for a hug. If this is what you want, I will hold you as you cry and let the tears fall. What a shock, how unpleasant. Can you tell me what happened? It is not your fault, sweet girl. I can understand your tears. We can make the situation better. So if and I spoke those words, I hope, in a soothing voice. If you can think about the importance of being soothed in those moments and how what sounds like you weren't soothed and you didn't feel safe to express your feelings and you felt like there was something wrong with you or it wasn't acceptable to feel what you felt. And so your feelings were dismissed or shut down or ignored and they weren't processed. You weren't given any help to process them. And for me, stuffing my feelings. So if I just stuff them, so they're not welcome here, they're not acceptable, they're painful, and I don't know what to do with them, and I'm just going to stuff them. So I'm going to pile food on top of them, and maybe they'll go away. So I wrote a little letter to myself. It's not your fault, Catherine. You are enough. It's okay to make mistakes. You are safe. You are special. I'll take care of you. So it's a validating message. So often in my coaching work, what people have missed out on is validation. So they haven't been validated for their feelings or for the enormity of what's been happening to them. It has been swept under the carpet or ignored, or they've been told to be quiet. And what is so important is to validate ourselves. It's vital to validate ourselves. And sometimes that takes a bit of time to learn how to validate ourselves. So that's why working with someone else, with a coach, a counselor, a therapist, or even talking to a really empathetic friend, then we get validated. And that's the first step, to validate ourselves. So I'd like you to think about that. Just hold on to that. When you have feelings, whatever they are in the present day, I'd like you to validate them. It's okay to feel anxious. I know you feel anxious, and totally understandable that you feel anxious. It's totally understandable that you feel stressed. Oh, I hear that you feel angry, and absolutely, I totally understand that you feel angry. So that is validating. And if you think about what we generally do to ourselves, it's kind of the opposite. It's like, pull yourself together, get over it. Here, have this piece of chocolate, ignore it. Have this loaf of bread, like stuff it down. We don't validate our feelings and we don't give space to them. And for me, this is the journey of healing from any uncomfortable, from any behavior that is self-harming and that is a crutch and that we use to to numb, or to hide. It is to validate our feelings and to feel our feelings and to allow those feelings to come and to meet our own needs as best as we can. So you have done an exercise there that involves you talking to yourself when you were a little girl, when you had some difficult feelings. And you've had to think about the ways in which your needs weren't met or your feelings weren't validated, and then the coping mechanisms that you developed to manage. So perhaps stuffing or suppressing, silencing, censoring, all those I love words, I'm a writer, so all those words are kind of, they shrink us, don't they? They're all about suppressing and silencing and censoring and shutting ourselves up and shutting ourselves down. And it's not surprising that we looked for behaviors, substances. So I got a lot of comfort from food, from toast, from bread, from toast and butter and Marmite, from cheese and Branston pickle toasted sandwiches, from yogurt, yogurt and oats, and how comforting that is. But the problem with these coping mechanisms is they might take the edge off for a while. And for me, they worked well for many years. So I was able to travel all over the world. I was able to have a brilliant career, and I was able to have some relationships, even though they all failed. I was able to have friends and fun and live in Mexico and Brazil and all these things. And for all those years, the food and the excess drink and everything else that I was doing, they got me by. They were crutches that worked, took the edge off the pain, gave me confidence, took the edge off my fear, took the edge off my anxiety. But then what happens is we come out of denial, and we start to see that we start to see that the pain and the harm that we're causing ourselves, and B, we start to feel that these things don't actually work for us anymore. Like, for me, I felt far worse. So I start off with a problem. Say I've got a problem, I'm anxious. And then I eat. So I'm still anxious after eating, but I've got two problems. I am anxious and I hate myself because I have overeaten. I feel disgusting. I feel fat. I feel my stomach hurts. I've got loads of problems now, not just the anxiety that I had to start with. I've got shame. I've got self-hate. So we multiply our problems when we overeat, or when we use on our feelings. And what we want to do is find healthy ways to address the problems. So, the food, the drink, whatever it is, it stops working. And of course it stops working because it's not meeting the right need. So I used to say that, I could eat my body weight in food and I would never feel full because it wasn't filling the right hole. The hole that I was pouring the food into wasn't food shaped. It wasn't crisp shaped or chocolate shaped or toast shaped. It was love shaped or comfort shaped or affirmation shaped. It was a different shape. So that's why when I ate, I was a bottomless pit. Like there was no stopping. And when I drank, I was a bottomless pit or a bottomless barrel. I would drink and drink and drink until until I threw up and collapsed. And it was mindless. It was completely mindless. And that goes for, of course, one of our modern day addictions, the phones, the scrolling, and the TV and the Netflix. And obviously things, we can enjoy them in moderation, same as food, same as alcohol. But if we're using on them to try and fill a hole, and the hole isn't the same, it doesn't fit, then we'll just keep going. We'll just keep scrolling. We'll just keep watching. We'll just keep eating. So we want to discover what actually is going on inside. And, we want to try, and this is trial and error, progress, not perfection. We want to try and let go of our unhealthy coping mechanisms little by little. Because, and as I put in one of the emails, not only is this important because of the cost that we identified at the beginning, so the cost of to our health, to our relationships, to our connection with people, to our connection with ourselves, to our spirituality, our creativity, our careers. So it's important for all those reasons that we manage our feelings in healthy ways and stop using these behaviors. The other thing is, every time we stop, every time we don't overeat, or we step back from the phone or from the wine, we grow. We have an opportunity to grow. And I know that you are here watching me doing this workshop because you want to grow, which is wonderful. I absolutely commend and celebrate you for wanting to grow. And I want to grow too. I want to develop. I want to grow. I want to heal. I want to be my full self, achieve my full potential in all areas. I want to feel peace. I want to feel free. I want to grow. I don't want to stay stuck, and I don't want to stay trapped. And I know you want the same. So every time we step back from the behavior, every time we intervene in the overeating or the drinking or the scrolling or whatever it is, we grow. Because we allow ourselves to feel our feelings. Okay, what's actually going on? Okay, I feel anxious. I feel scared. I feel scared about sending this email. I feel scared about speaking my truth. Because I remember speaking my truth when I was 6, and it was a really bad idea back then because people were angry with me. So when I think about speaking my truth as an adult, I feel triggered into my anxiety and my fear, and that makes me want to eat. But when I step back from the food, I think, okay, I'm afraid to speak my truth. But then I'm going to soothe myself in a healthy way. I'm going to reassure myself. I'm going to validate myself. Okay, Catherine, it's okay to feel afraid. It's understandable that you feel afraid about speaking your truth because of your life experiences. But you're not 6 anymore. You're not 10 anymore. And I am here for you now. I, the adult, am here for you now. And we're going to do this together. And we're going to write this email or make this phone call, and we're going to speak our truth. And we're going to be okay. I'm here for you. Even if the other person gets angry or doesn't like it, you're not 6 and you don't depend on them for your survival. It might be a bit uncomfortable, but we'll get through it together. So, and then you grow because you've had this experience of speaking your truth and overcoming your fear without resorting to food or whatever crutch it is. And you think, oh my gosh, I just did that. And that is incredible. I spoke my truth. I overcame my fear. I spoke my truth, and I feel stronger, and I feel more confident, and I feel more free. And what I do know is that next time it will be easier, that I will be able to do it next time. And if we don't do it that time, it'll just get harder. I'm sure you have experiences of things that you have got out of practice doing, and they've just got harder. It gets harder. If we don't speak our truth, and we don't speak our truth, and we don't speak our truth, then there's like this huge wall of fear, and it just gets harder and harder. So we want to practice the opposite. We want to practice speaking our truth. Not just speaking our truth, doing whatever it is that frightens us or that brings up painful feelings, and doing it without the unhealthy coping mechanisms. And the other thing that comes to mind is grief. I work with lots of women who have a lot of grief for many different reasons, and I have experienced lots of grief. So there's the kind of standard grief of having lost my parents, for example, losing people die. Then there are all these other complex griefs of not having our needs and wants met, of the losses of our childhoods, of the things we might have missed out on, often in the case of my clients, children, family. There's all this grief. And, if we keep a lid on it by eating on it, drinking on it, running away from it, working too hard, it will always be there, and it will kind of consolidate and get really stuck and just get cemented. But if we give ourselves space to feel our feelings through journaling, through the inner child writing, non-dominant handwriting, sharing with others, working with a professional, making space, being out in nature, taking time out, if we allow ourselves to feel, then the grief starts to move, the feelings start to get processed, we feel it in order to heal it. Whatever we're trying to do, it's not about the food, it's about the feelings. It's not about the booze, it's about the pain, it's not about the money. If you're gambling, for example, or you have things that go on around money, it's about the high. It's not about the drugs, it's about the escape. And we have to feel our pain in order to heal it. And I'd love you to, if you haven't heard it already, or if you're not already aware of it, just hold on to that statement. It's not about the food, it's about the feelings. It's not about the drink, it's about the feelings. It's not about the work, it's about the feelings. Whatever we're using on, it's about the feelings. So there's something, a tool that I found really useful, which is the pause, the pause, the pause between stimulus and response. So the stimulus could be an email from your boss, a harsh word from a friend, the news that another person at work has got pregnant, the rejection by a partner, whatever the stimulus is, you are stimulated, you are triggered, your feelings are triggered, and you want to respond. And your coping mechanisms are to respond in unhealthy ways, such as cake, drink, whatever it is. So I would like you to put a pause between stimulus and response. So I am stimulated, I feel triggered, I want to eat, I want to drink. Okay, I'm going to take a pause. Now, this is difficult. This is really difficult. It takes huge courage to take this pause. And if I just talk about my healing from binge eating, the first step that I took was not this one, actually. It was the step before this, which was a pause after I had binge eaten. So I get stimulated, I get triggered, I need to eat, and I start binging. And the first breakthrough was to pause afterwards, and not to beat myself up, but to be curious about what has just happened, and to be compassionate about what has just happened. And ideally, to break the shame and the secrecy and to share it with someone else. So I remember in my first days of healing from binge eating, I would binge eat like crazy. And then I would find the courage to pick up the phone to a friend who understood. And I would say, I've just eaten all this stuff and I feel awful. I feel dreadful and I hate myself. And that would break the shame, and hopefully the friend can be compassionate with me and help me explore the feelings that were going on. And hopefully I can refrain from beating myself up and running around the park. And I can just, in that moment afterwards, feel the feelings. So that is the pause after the response. And that could be your first step. It could be that you have just spent 35 minutes scrolling through Instagram and you feel really pretty rubbish because you're just supposed to be working. So your first response could be to text a friend, or write it down, or find someone to share it with. Oh, I've just wasted 35 minutes on scrolling, or I've just drunk 3 glasses of wine when I meant to drink one, and I really need to go to bed now. So you could share it afterwards. And then the most courageous thing is to put the pause before we use our crutch. And I have some examples of pauses here that have worked for me. So it could be that you go outside, that you phone a friend, that you change your mindsets, just change what's going on in your head. So you could sing to yourself, stand on one leg, you could journal, you could scream, you could cry, whatever way you can feel. And what we're looking for is a momentary pause to begin with. We just want to create a bit of space, tiny bit of space, in order to feel. And that's where the growth happens. That is the miracle, where you get that bit of space. You allow yourself to be curious about what is going on. Why am I feeling this way? Or what feelings am I trying to numb? And you allow yourself to feel. And maybe you need to write something down, and maybe you need to cry, and maybe you need to speak to someone. And it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter if 3 minutes later you eat the piece of cake, or you do whatever it is that you were trying to avoid, because you've already got your growth. And then next time, maybe there'll be a 5-minute pause and a 10-minute pause. Maybe there'll be a half an hour pause and you get to walk around the block. And then when you get back, you don't actually want to eat or drink or whatever. And I remember I used to have this thing of comforting myself at the end of the night when I lived on my own and was single. I think there was something lonely about going to bed, and I would soothe myself in the evening with some yogurt or soya milk or something. And I would really want to soothe myself with toast or something to eat. And I would tell myself that evening that I can have the toast in the morning. I won't have it now, I'll have it in the morning. And then morning comes and I didn't want it anymore. So I had managed to put a really big pause there between stimulus and response. So I'd like you to remember that pause between stimulus and response. If you've read my book, you'll know there's loads of little sections called pause and reflect, pause and reflect. And I know many people who read it don't pause and reflect, they just read cover to cover. And that's okay, that's often how I read books too. But then we go back and we read again and we pause. So hold on to that idea of pause between stimulus and response. So some healing steps. Now you know these, and you're already doing many of them. Self-honesty. Now this is a process, isn't it? A process of becoming honest with ourselves. And I'll just share something about denial. This is a little passage written by Melody Beattie, who wrote The Language of Letting Go, which is a book that I often suggest to my clients. Denial can be confusing because it resembles sleeping. We're not really aware we're doing it until we're done doing it. Forcing ourselves or anyone else to face the truth usually doesn't help. We won't face the facts until we are ready. We may admit to the truth for a moment, but we won't let ourselves know what we know until we feel safe, secure, and prepared enough to deal and cope with it. The first step toward acceptance is denial. The first step toward moving through denial is accepting that we may be in denial and then gently allowing ourselves to move through. So, you're here, so you're aware of the things that you're doing to yourself. More self-honesty might be required, more self-awareness. We're always growing. So what do you need to be rigorously honest with yourself about? Behaviors, things that you might be using. How can you connect with your truth and your feelings? So journaling, meditating, nature, crying. Self-compassion and self-acceptance, absolutely key. So my breakthrough was not so much when I stopped binge eating. It was when I stopped beating myself up for having eaten or done whatever it is. Self-compassion and self-acceptance. And then we want to manage the fear and shame. So if you have shame about the things that you've been using as crutches, we want to try and manage that shame by ending the secrecy, breaking the isolation, sharing things with other people. And for me and lots of people I work with, deeper self-inquiry is part of the process. So you might want to look at coaching or counseling or psychotherapy, where you do deeper self-inquiry. And that's the work I have done and the work that I do with others, like really looking inside ourselves. So remember, we are feeling it to heal it. We are asking ourselves, what do I need in this moment? So this is the pause. So we pause before we pick up on something or after we pick up on something. Okay, what was going on? How am I feeling? What do I actually need in this moment? A hug, rest, sleep, a good friend to come by, to be out in the sunshine, a drink of water, some healthy nourishment. What do I actually need in this moment? Now, often I totally appreciate that sometimes we identify needs that we can't meet in that moment. And, it sounds like madness, but this is how we live, isn't it? We identify a need for sleep and for rest, but we can't meet that need right then because we're in some job that means we have to work ridiculous hours, or there are all these demands on our time. And I think it's just important to really notice that what the need is, what the actual need is. And if your life is set up in a way in which you can't actually meet your needs, then perhaps something about your life needs to change. And I guess I relate that to my job when I was a news journalist. My life was set up, my career was set up in a way that I could not meet my needs for rest, for sleep, for play, for creativity, for joy, for friendship, for love. And that had to change. And I think about a trip I did over Easter. I had this big trip over Easter up north, to Liverpool and North Wales to see family and friends. In many ways, it was wonderful because I saw so many family and friends. But when I got back, I realized that I couldn't meet my needs on that trip. I couldn't meet my needs for rest. I couldn't meet my needs for healthy nourishment because I was staying with other people. I had a busy schedule and we were driving for 7.5 hours. I couldn't meet my needs. So next time I won't do that trip. I will do it differently. I will do less travel, break it up, make sure there's time for rest and nourishment, probably not stay with other people. I will try and meet my needs. So perhaps you want to think about, is my life set up in a way in which I can meet my needs? Maybe think about that now. And maybe just if anything comes up for you, just drop that in the chat. Is your life set up in a way in which you can meet your needs? And what might need to change? Okay, so I'm increasingly having caring responsibilities and I'm doing things to get more help, although it's not sorted yet. But yeah, getting more help would be a good thing. Yeah, so this is common at our age to have additional responsibilities, caring responsibilities. So it's important to identify that this extra burden means you cannot meet all of your needs and to get more help. And I'm working this out. The job is flexible in helpful ways and secure. But I work with families, which I find tough personally. Yeah, I think it's a really good thing to keep exploring. Is my life set up in a way in which I can meet my needs? So there are lots of different needs. You identified some in that exercise. I just want to talk. I'm aware also about boundaries. Someone says, yeah, working out how to manage boundaries in work and thinking about increasing caring responsibilities. Yeah, I mean this is the adult step. This is the grown up who needs to take responsibility for herself and understand how to meet her own needs, because no one else is going to do it. And that's what's hard. That's part of my healing and growth journey, is to really, really understand that nobody's coming. And, you know, in my case, my parents have both passed away, so definitely nobody's coming. But I spent my whole life thinking, hoping that they would meet my needs, that they would do the job that I thought they were supposed to be doing. Bless them. And I talk a lot in my work about hopium. So it's a drug, hope, the drug of hope. And it's a bit like being in a relationship with someone who is mistreating you or not committing to you, and the hopium that they will change. And that's an addictive process. It's addictive. So we will stay in that relationship, hoping that that person will suddenly turn around and be amazing and kind and generous and want to be with us. And I did that a lot in my romantic relationships, the hopium that it would be different. And in my life, you know, one of my huge challenges is to take responsibility for it and not stay in the kind of victim place of, oh, can someone come and sort this out for me, please? Where's the parent? Where's the parent? Why aren't they here to do the job they were supposed to do? And we need to let go of the hopium that the parent will ever do the job they were supposed to do, and be that parent for ourselves. You know, and I've managed to do that in some significant ways, but you know, I think about, you know, with my business, which is quite haphazard, and I'm always looking for some sort of guru to show me how to do it. Well, I'm just going to have to do it myself. I need to do it myself, take responsibility. So this is the grown-up thing, and we become grown-ups. We become more grown-up by getting in touch with the needs and wants and losses that the child experienced, and healing her pain through that exercise that we did. And just one thing on That's quite a big thing actually, but just let me just see what's in the chat. Find it hard to know where I am in relationship to work and other things, where to say no. Sometimes it's easier to say no when there is a specific thing that causes the no, but I want to get to the point I can say no because I'm just saying no. Yeah. So it is hard to know when to say no. It takes courage. It takes connection to your intuition. It really, that's the first thing. It takes connection to your intuition. I can have a decision to make, and I can phone 10 people and ask for their opinion, and I still won't know what to do. In fact, I might do what they tell me to do. But then I might make a mistake, and then I'll blame them. So yeah, it's hard to tap into our intuition. It takes time, it takes practice. And also, we can get it wrong. We can make a decision. We can say no. And that's the learning. We can say yes when we mean no, and then we learn. And we say no when we mean yes, and then we learn. It's a constant cycle of self-reflection. But with the intuition, how long do you spend hanging out with it? How long do you spend listening to it? In meditation, journaling, connecting with your inner child, doing that non-dominant handwriting, connecting with sort of a sense of spirituality, like what is in my highest good? What is in my highest good? What would my best and most loving friend recommend that I do right now? And in terms of needs, these are the basic ones that probably weren't met and that we need to meet for ourselves. So the basic needs are to be seen, to be soothed, to feel safe, and to feel secure. And they are all connected. So we need to be seen in order to feel soothed. So if you think about a baby is upset. Baby needs to see that the mother is looking in its eyes and mirroring it, and the baby needs to feel seen. And if you think about a mother and baby, the mother is soothing the baby by seeing, by looking. So we need to feel seen in order to feel soothed. And then if we feel soothed, we will feel safe and secure. Now, we might not have got what we needed in this area when we were young. We might not have felt seen or soothed or safe or secure. So how do you see yourself? How can you see yourself today? And this means identifying your needs and wants, really seeing yourself. Gosh, Catherine, I see that you're exhausted, or I see that you really need to go out and swim in the sea, or I see that you feel hurt and sad and lonely, or I see that you feel angry. And then soothing ourselves. So we soothe ourselves by, that letter that you wrote to yourself, and by speaking to yourself, and then perhaps by getting some other sources of soothing from friends or supporters or professionals. And we help ourselves to feel safe and secure. And, I have a bit of a habit of doing things to feel unsafe and insecure, nothing like I used to, like back in the day, like hitchhike on motorways and get drunk and go off with strangers, and I was held up at gunpoint and knife point in Mexico City, partly because of the choices I made. So I went out of my way to feel unsafe because it was what I was used to. I had grown up around feeling high alert, used to feeling unsafe. So that's changed a lot. Like I live in a house, I have a husband, like I try and, but there's still this part of me in ways that finds ways to feel unsafe. So around money, like maybe I don't manage it very well, or I don't earn enough, um, or I cause myself anxiety and stress by running late or missing deadlines, or, not like it used to be, but I can still cause a sense of anxiety in myself because it's very normal. It feels normal, it feels safe. So what steps might you need to take to feel seen, soothed, safe, and secure? Because then your inner child will feel at peace and calm, and she won't need to reach for sugar or drink or affirmation from some random person on the internet through dating, or shopping addiction, or uber achievement at work. She won't need those things because she feels peaceful inside, inner peace. So if you feel seen and soothed and safe and secure, you will feel peaceful inside, and you won't need to resort to these things. And one of my, back in the day when people asked me what my hopes and dreams were, I'd probably say something like, oh, a husband, or a child, or whatever it was. And now it's all about peace. I just want to feel peaceful, and I want to feel seen and soothed and safe and secure. So what do I need in this moment? How can I soothe myself? Who can I share with? And where can I get support? So think about the inner support and the outer support. So this is all of the process of pausing. I pause, I get triggered, I pause. What's going on inside? What am I feeling? What do I really need in this moment? It's not sugar. It's not TV. What do I really need in this moment? And how can I meet those needs? And if I can't go to bed, if I'm tired and I can't get to bed, then can I take a 10-minute nap, or can I just step outside into the sunshine? Yesterday I was preparing this, and I was feeling really tired in the afternoon, and I was just getting nowhere. I thought, right, I'm going to go down the beach and have a swim in the sea, and then I feel different. It changes how I feel. So how can I soothe myself in healthy ways? Who can I share with, and where can I get support? Yeah. So I'd like to start moving towards wrapping up the formal section, and I will then switch the recording off, and we can have a chat and have some questions. Just see what in the chat it says. At times, fun, excitement, laughter, creativity is a need to, or the way that we soothe ourselves. And absolutely. And as well as these basic seen, soothed, safe, and secure needs, we need all the others. We need to feel joyful and excited, and we need to laugh, and we need to feel connected, and we need to feel like we belong and special and creative and all those things. And this goes back to that question about how your life is set up. Is your life set up in a way where you can't meet all those needs? And, for me, working at Reuters, writing a million news stories, not a day, but writing lots and lots of news stories, I eventually realized that my creativity was totally squashed. Like, there was no space for creativity. And when I left that job and started to write and blog, I felt like a straitjacket had been removed from me. I could write whatever I wanted. And I started writing about overeating and women. And so creativity is really important. We're all creative beings, and that is an important outlet. So I want you to think about 3 steps that you can take um, on the back of this workshop. There might be more than 3, or you might need to go and think about it. Go away and think about it. But do you need to see yourself more? Do you need to implement the pause? Um, what changes do you need to make so that you can meet your own needs? Do you need to take some time out, take some time off? Do you need to create a greater sense of safety somehow, manage your money better? Do you need a holiday? Do you need to process some anger, journal? Do you need support? Do you need to work with a professional? Do you need to work with me? Um, and if you'd like to, if you have any conclusions about that, it'd be great if you shared them. So somebody shares other methods of soothing myself where I am witnessed. Yeah, massage, healing. That's really important. And, I often talk about massage because one of our needs, especially because I work with lots of single people, one of our needs is to feel touched. It's a basic human need to feel the touch of someone else. Um, and it's really important. So massage can meet that need in a healthy way. Being witnessed is also important, so being heard. Implementing the pause and tapping into my intuition. Yeah, cleaning and being tidy is a way of looking after yourself. Yeah, and a way of bringing order to your surroundings. And I know when my surroundings are disordered, I feel stressed and anxious, and I don't feel peace. It's hard to concentrate and focus. Yeah. So it's not about the food or the drink or the drug or whatever. It's about the feelings. And you identified you identified some of the ways in which your needs, some of the ways in which you weren't able to feel as a child. Your feelings weren't welcome. It didn't feel safe. It didn't feel safe to feel. It didn't feel safe to be angry. And there was a lot of feelings that needed processing, and there was nobody there to help you process them. So you identified that, the easiest, quickest route to soothing was through food, whatever it was, drink, whatever we chose. So that was the way we set ourselves up, or we were set up. And through that inner child writing, you looked at the needs that weren't, the feelings that your child had in a particular moment or in generally, and the needs that weren't met. And then you wrote back to her and told her what she needed and gave her what she needed. And that's what I'd like you to do in the present day. So give yourself what you need, the right thing, not the unhealthy thing. So we talked about, basic needs to be seen and soothed and safe and secure, and then all these other needs to feel special and like we belong and like we're loved, to feel touch, to feel creative. And is your life set up in the best way for you to meet these needs for yourself? And not even just your life, like when you look at whatever plans you have for Saturday, is Saturday set up in a way that meets my needs? Or am I going from one appointment to another appointment, and that meeting with that friend might be a bit triggering, and I might end up with some feelings, and then I'm going straight to that other thing, and then I'm going to be thirsty and hungry. And have I set up my day to meet my needs? Um, and this is about having boundaries with ourselves and with others. You know, boundaries with ourselves, actually, Catherine, that's too much. You like to think that you can do all those things, but you're not actually Superwoman, and you need some space in between, and you need to feel. And then you need boundaries with other people. So actually, dear friend, I said I would meet you, or thank you for the invitation to meet you, but I'm going to need to take some time out and rest then. So we set up our life and our days to meet our needs as best as we can in healthy ways. So I know that around 3:30 in the afternoon, my energy levels drop and I really want to eat. And I need to think about that. So how do I go out for my walk, or do some exercise, or go to the beach, or swim in the sea at that time? Because that's the danger zone. We want to feel it in order to heal it. So we pause, we take the pause between stimulus and response, we slow down, or we take the pause after response. Whatever we can do, that is good enough. We slow down and we try to stop numbing, and we connect to our feelings, and we find different ways to process our feelings. We journal, we speak to others. Maybe you need to shout and scream. Maybe you need to sit in your car and yell. I go in the sea sometimes and have a good scream. Maybe you need to cry. Maybe you need someone's shoulder to cry on. The truth will set you free. So be rigorously honest with yourself and with those that you trust. Break the shame and isolation. So addictions flourish in secrecy and with shame and isolation. So we want to break that. We want to be honest with people about what we're doing to ourselves. And that will help to break the shame. We want to develop healthy ways to soothe ourselves and reparent ourselves. So meditation, exercise. You know, for me, going in the sea, it gives me a healthy high, and it's a bit like it's like washes all my troubles away and calms my anxiety, freezes my brain so I can't be obsessive and over analytical. And there's lots of research, isn't there, about the healthy vibes we get off water. So how can I meet my own needs in healthy ways and give ourselves what we weren't given, and let go of the hopium that anyone is going to give us? Let go of the hopium that that we're going to get what we didn't get, and that someone, like some boss or some boyfriend or girlfriend or whatever, someone is going to repair the losses from our past. Now, someone in your present can meet your needs for love and affection and validation, but they can never fill that hole. We have to try and fill that ourselves, because otherwise, especially when it comes to relationships, we'll go out dating or looking for a relationship with a massive hole inside, a big need, a big lack, and then we'll accept anything, or we'll not value ourselves, or we'll make unhealthy choices. And we ask for help, and asking for help is a true sign of courage. It's not a sign of weakness. So we ask for help. I'm just going to stop the share there. So just before I close the recording and we have a chat or open for questions, if you would like my help and support with overeating or any other unhealthy behavior, or to give you a bit of a self-care boost, I have a couple of coaching sessions that I'm offering attached to this workshop at a lower price than usual. So my one-off sessions are normally 200, but if you have taken this workshop and you would like a one-off session, that is 150. So if you would like a one-off session, I'll put all this in an email. And if you would like to be part of a group to work through overeating, or compulsively doing things or using crutches, I am intending to put together a group course, including a Telegram group where we support each other regularly, and some calls and some materials. So I can put that in an email as well. But if you're interested in something like that, please let me know. So I think, let me just check my notes before I wrap up the formal part. If you're watching on recording, if you have any questions, please email me, and you all have my email, Catherine@catherinebaldwin.com. But remember, to sum up, we feel it to heal it. The opportunities for growth in that moment of pause are phenomenal. And I wouldn't be where I am now. And, so much has transformed in my life from being someone who was permanently obsessed with food, eating it, not eating it, avoiding it, getting rid of it, permanently obsessed with my body and my weight, totally anxious all the time, single and in unhealthy relationships over and over again, harming myself in lots of ways. And I'm not saying my life is perfect, and I'm not saying I don't still struggle, but everything has transformed. I'm now living with my husband in this lovely house by the sea and doing different work to what I used to do. I meditate most mornings, and I am finding on a daily basis, one day at a time, that sense of inner peace. And the freedom from food and body obsession is incredible. I can't really imagine who I was. How could I have spent my entire life for all those years feeling so trapped in this cycle of binging and starving? And just to give you a final anecdote of imperfection, and of a moment when I didn't pause. So it was only a few weeks ago, and I can't even remember the cause of my anxiety, but I had a huge amount of anxiety in that moment. It might have been about something to do with work, or I think it was about speaking my truth, actually. I think it was about some dealings with to do with my flat in London, and I think it was about speaking my truth and asking for my needs to be met. And I was really anxious. And I don't binge anymore, but I do sometimes pick up on something. So I'll have a little bit of an extra handful of nuts, or a bit of yogurt in the afternoon when I don't really need it. It's a bit of soothing. And in this moment, I was really anxious, and I picked up some nuts, and the dog was anxious too, because she reflects my mood. And I picked up some kibble for her, some little dog biscuits, which are kind of beef flavored. And because I throw them in the garden for her. And I put the kibble in my mouth. I put the dog biscuits in my mouth because I was anxious and I was eating on my feelings. And it's a real, just a wake-up call. I didn't pause. I didn't connect. I didn't slow down, and I ended up eating dog food. So maybe that memory will come to you when you're grasping at something. Like, I need to change how I feel. I need to change how I feel. I need to be less anxious. I'm scared. How do I change how I feel? And we don't want to change how we feel. We actually just want to feel how we feel. We want to feel how we feel. So, and process those feelings, and then we grow. So that doesn't happen very often. That's the first and hopefully the only time I will eat dog food. And so I wish you freedom from emotional eating, drinking, drugging, scrolling, texting, numbing, TV watching, everything in moderation. And I wish you freedom to achieve to be all who you are meant to be. um, yeah, to recover, uncover, and set free that authentic, bold, courageous, creative, beautiful, intuitive child inside. And I'll wrap up there.